We're converting this cargo van into a luxury camper van. Once it was delivered to my house by Leo and Anna, we came up with a plan and got right to work. We first had to cut a hole into the roof so we can install the Max Air fan, so we laid out some cardboard to protect the floor from the hot metal chips. I measured and marked where the Max Air fan would go, then drilled some holes on the corners so I could fit my jigsaw blade inside of it, then cut out the hole. This is the most nerve-wracking part out of every build, because if you drill the hole wrong, you're completely screwed.
We are screwed.
Once the hole was cut out, I filed down all the sharp edges, then did a dry fit with the Max Air fan bracket to make sure it fits, then pulled it back off and spray painted all the live edges so they don't rust over time. I used butyl tape as a sealer to make sure this Max Air fan never leaks. To secure the Max Air fan bracket, I drilled some pocket holes, then put a piece of blocking on the inside so the screws have something to bite to. I then used some of this Lexol sealant and went over all the screws and around the entire bracket. Hope then brought me the Max Air fan. I installed it onto the bracket and that was it. We're taking all the saran wrap off of all of the roof rack pieces so we can install the roof rack onto the roof of the van. We spent some time prepping the roof rack before getting it onto the roof of the van. We had to remove these tabs in order to be able to bolt the roof rack onto the roof. This stuff is super sticky, so we used some rubbing alcohol to remove it until it looked like this. Now some of the bolts wouldn't fit properly, so we had to shave the roof down a little bit before proceeding. We then stuck on these gaskets to go around every bolt hole and placed the roof rack pieces directly on top of them. We used these foot washers before bolting it down, but left everything loose until the entire roof rack was completely installed. This will allow us to shift it around once it's all put together to make sure that it's centered. We bolted on the front piece, then the back piece, and made sure to use Loctite on all of the bolts to make sure they don't come loose over time. Before finishing up with the roof rack, we had to install the air conditioner, so we had to drill another sketchy hole. We got the hole cut out, now we need to figure out a way to get this big ass nomadic air conditioner onto the roof. I spread some of this Lexol sealant onto the gasket, then brought the AC onto the roof. We then put the AC into place, made sure it was centered, connected the inside brackets, and that was it. We next bolted on all the rails that go in between the roof rack and left them loose because this is what the solar panels are going to bolt onto. We picked up this frameless window. Now we're going to cut a hole into the van right here and get it installed. Before we install the window, we need to cut out these ribs right here with this metal grinder. And to power the metal grinder, we're going to be using the Bluetti Apex 300. It's got 420 volt outlets, an LED screen to let you know how much battery percentage you have left, a voltage selector between 120 and 240, eco mode, multiple charging modes right here, a power button. This side you have a 30 amp connection, a 50 amp connection, a spot where you can charge on grid, then on the other side you have a spot where you can charge with solar panels and an expansion port. And if building an off-grid electrical system is too complex, this Bluetti power station is a perfect alternative because you don't need to run any wires. It just comes plug and play straight out the box. It's also perfect for job sites so you can charge things like batteries, run table saws, and any other components that you need to run off-grid. You can also connect up to 30 kilowatts of solar, which will charge this power station super fast. The Apex 300 is compatible with Bluetti's expansion batteries if you need more power. It has EV grade LifePool 4 lithium batteries that have a 17-year battery life. It can handle HVAC systems, charge electric vehicles, and everything can be controlled on the Bluetti app, which will give you storm notifications if the power is gonna go out. Alright, so we ran the Bluetti all day long today, and we started off at 100%. We used the metal grinder, ran a table saw on it, charged all of our power tool batteries, and we ended up charging our son's electric scooter on it, and it says that it's still at 52%. Now, that's pretty good if you ask me. We use it as a home backup and also bring it to job sites with us, especially when there's no power. If you guys want to get one, I'm going to link it in the description below. Wish me luck. I thought cutting a hole into the roof of this van was sketchy until I had to do this. One little slip with this metal grinder would put a hole and a dent into the outside of this van, completely ruining the build and would cost me a ton of money to fix. I used this metal sheet to protect the outside sheathing of the van while I grind off the sharp metal. I then used some Rust-Oleum spray paint to protect it, and that was it. To install the window, we made a bunch of measurements, then drilled a hole so we can fit our jigsaw blade and cut the hole for the window out. Bill was on the outside spraying the blade with water so it stays cool to keep the metal from warping from the heat. Senor Will!
What's up, buddy?
Once the hole was cut out, we sprayed all the edges with Rust-Oleum spray paint, let it dry, then fit the window into place. We put some blocking around the window so that the window bracket has something to press against, screwed it into place, gave it a water test, and that was it. Leo and his wife also wanted to have windows on the back side of the van, so we basically just repeated the same process as the first window. Since the back windows are a little different, we had to glue on these gaskets before installing them onto the van. I then screwed the window into place, gave it a water test, and repeated the same process on the other side. Leo and his wife really wanted lights on the exterior of this camper van, so we picked up these 12-volt lights that mount directly onto the roof rack. We got them installed and left the wires loose on the roof, which will run into the van later on in the video through the entry gland. We got the lights installed. Now we're going to install this Fiamma FS45 awning. We've never installed an awning before and it's pretty heavy, so Bill's going to help us bolt it onto the roof rack. It came with these brackets right here that hold up the awning, and what we need to do first is bring the entire awning up to the roof rack to dry fit it. So we're just going to add some masking tape on here like this, then bring it up there and see how it fits. All right. Oh man, that's the worst news ever. Oh my goodness. All right, round two. You gotta really tape the brackets down because they fall off easily. All right, ready? Yep. So basically what we're doing is we're just sliding the bolts in to the roof rack just to make sure that it does fit. And then we're gonna take it back down and pre-drill some holes. Luckily, the bracket that fell did no damage to the van, but I wanted to leave it in the video to show you guys the reality of what it's like to build a camper van. Things rarely go the way that you want them to, so keeping a positive attitude throughout the process of these van builds is super important. After drilling the holes into the awning and installing the brackets, we carefully brought it back onto the roof rack and bolted into place. So we got the awning installed, but we're gonna leave it loose because if we tighten the awning, we're not gonna be able to tighten up these rails right here, which hold the solar panels. So now what we're gonna do is figure out exactly where the rails are gonna go permanently so we can install the solar panels. Then we're gonna go ahead and tighten up the awning, then install our solar panels, and it should work out perfectly. Right, these are the solar panels right here. We picked up 3 of them. So now we're gonna install the brackets and get them installed onto the roof rack so then we can go ahead and tighten up the awning finally.
I'm gonna link it in the description.
I'm gonna go ahead and link them in the description below just in case you guys wanna get one. We connected the solar panel brackets to the solar panels, and we used Loctite and lock nuts to make sure they don't rattle out of place over time. Then we installed the carriage bolts onto the roof rack and brought the solar panels onto the roof so we can bolt it onto the roof rack. We're installing 3 of these 200 watt monocrystalline solar panels, which will give them 600 watts of solar in total. We're connecting these solar panels in parallel and bringing them into the van through a solar gland on the backside. Once they were all installed, we added a washer and a lock nut, then bolted them down into place. So after a long day, we finally got all the solar panels installed and tightened up. Now we're finally gonna go ahead and tighten up the awning and open it up to see how it works. When we opened it up, this thing was much bigger than we were expecting and looked pretty badass if you ask me. I think Leo and Ann are gonna be super happy with the end result. The awning came with these LED light strips, so we went ahead and installed it while we were at it and temporarily wired it up to make sure that it worked. We then went ahead and put the awning away and it was completely installed. We had to run the wires from the solar panels, exterior lights, and the awning into the van. So we drilled a hole and installed a grommet to protect the wires from the sharp metal edges, then ran the wires through the solar gland and into the van. We added butyl tape to the border of the solar gland, then screwed it directly into the van with self-tapping screws. This will make sure it doesn't leak, but just to be safe, we're gonna come back with some Lexol roof sealant and put it around the entire border and over the screws. We then repeated the same process all over again for all the exterior lighting through another solar gland. This one's a little different because it came with the lights, but it essentially does the exact same thing. You just run the wires through the solar gland, then into the roof, bolt it down, glue it up, and that's it. My neighbor Tom then came over to check on the progress, which he quickly approved of. We've grown to call him Mr. Quality Control. But after 2.5 weeks of work, the entire roof rack, AC, solar panels, and max air fan were completely installed. We already started working on part 2, so click subscribe, stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next.